Welcome to After Office Hours, the podcast for conversations that probably wouldn't make it onto your next meeting agenda. We're talking business, technology, culture, history, and whatever else catches our attention once the clock hits 5. The workday is over, but we're just getting started.
Why did someone purchase the new Ferrari Luce for 67 times the MSRP of the car? Who is this person? Why would he do this? Let's get into it.
Let's do it, Sean. Great to be back. Looking forward to dissecting this, what people have called ridiculous sale, including myself. So I think a good place to start is with who this once anonymous, quickly named buyer was Dr. Herbert Wertheim. He goes by Herbie, and that's what I'll refer to him as going forward. Herbie is an 87-year-old businessman, inventor, investor, and recently a philanthropist who's been donating hundreds of millions of dollars to different causes recently. And he's also a serious Ferrari collector because this isn't his first Ferrari purchased for benefit of the Ferrari Foundation. He purchased a Daytona SP3 last year for $23 million. And he's gotten wealthy through his investments, including one of which is a longtime shareholder of Apple. It's kind of funny because he's buying a Ferrari designed by Johnny Ive, longtime Apple designer. So a little bit of parallel there, which makes it particularly interesting. What do we think about Herbie, Sean? What are your initial thoughts?
Of Herbie? I like him. I mean, I'm all in favor. Personally, I love seeing extremely wealthy individuals pour money into cars and technology. That's just my bend, because eventually it all trickles down to the average cars that we all drive. So if you want to spend a truckload of money on a Ferrari, on a Lamborghini, on a whatever, especially the luxury high-end cars like Bugatti that are connected with other companies such as Audi and their whole infrastructure of cars. I love seeing these really wealthy individuals pouring money into technology that will eventually benefit more people.
He's donated hundreds of millions of dollars, as I've mentioned, just quickly going over some $100 million for biomedical research, $50 million for engineering education, $25 million towards public health. He's accumulated billions of dollars and he's pledged to donate half.
So what is this car, first of all? The Luce that he bought. It's not just a normal Luce. What is this Luce that he bought?
Yeah, so this is what would be considered a tailor-made Luce. So Ferrari's tailor-made program is a highly exclusive program where you essentially are able to fully customize the car. And this isn't going on to the configurator and selecting a color and some wheels and the leather that you want. This is, you are paired with a full-time design specialist, they call it, working with you to put one-of-one materials in the car, extremely hard to find touches and finishes, one-of-one paint colors that you're mixing and approving just a few allocations into the tailor-made program for folks with relationships with different Ferrari dealers. This one is a little bit different though, Sean, because it wasn't created for a person. It was created for the Ferrari Foundation to raise money for their educational initiatives, is what the stated goal of this auction was. They expected 1.1 million for it, and it ended up going for way more. After this car goes back to Italy to be essentially finished or fixed, because apparently it isn't ready to drive around just yet, he intends to make the car available to charitable organizations for more fundraising, whether that's selling it again or doing something else with it. But I think
I was under the understanding that even if you buy a Ferrari, you cannot sell it, because this is what Justin Bieber did. He sold his Ferrari, and why Justin Bieber's on the ban list. He sold his Ferrari within a year of purchasing it for a charity auction, and he wasn't able to. So now he's on the ban list because he sold it for charity. So he can't sell it. He might be doing more charitable work with it. That'll be really interesting to see what he does with it.
Right. He can't sell it. I think it's for at least a year, but if he wants to maintain this super elite relationship that he's trying to build, he's likely going to have that thing for the rest of his life. Herbie did get a pretty cool spot in the history of Ferrari. He got Chassis Zero. He got the first ever Ferrari EV. He's got a tailor-made one, which is probably going to be rare. It's a one of one. It's a pretty cool spot for a Ferrari collector. Whether or not the car is super cool, that's another thing to discuss. The story around this specific Luce, I think, is pretty awesome.
And so you've got this individual, he's got multiple Ferraris, he got a one-off SP3 last year. He's got multiple unique one-off cars, and from what I read, he's already part of this tailor-made program,
He's
but
already in the program.
there's probably a status level to get even higher in the program. Hey, how can I get these more exclusive cars faster? Buy a Luce. Now, the Luce, what are our thoughts on the Luce? What is your thoughts on the Luce?
My thoughts on the Luce is a resounding thumbs down. I am not a fan at all of the car. I think it was sort of one of those, we're now publicly traded. We want to try to do something. We have different regulations. We want to sell multiple cars. Let's have Johnny Ive design something super futuristic. When the interior pictures, they dropped a preview of the interior with the wheel and the screens and everything. I thought it was awesome. I was really excited to see it. And then the rest of the car started filling in around it, and it looks like a magic mouse from Apple, and not in a good way. What are your thoughts on the Luce, Sean?
I was very disappointed when I saw it. I literally thought, what is this? I thought it was a joke. I checked my calendar to see if it was April 1st. It wasn't. Yeah, I looked at it and I really was puzzled, especially when you look at the price tag of north of $600,000 for, I mean, it looks like a Prius. The
Right.
inside of
Yeah.
it is, I mean, nice, like you said, but it is definitely not a $600,000 car. What is it that separates this Prius looking thing from a normal Tesla?
This doesn't, to me, scream performance car. So
Hmm.
maybe separating it from the Tesla Roadster in that way, maybe putting it more towards like some of the more luxury drivable EVs that we see, some of the
Like a
electric
Plaid?
Rolls Royce, like
Okay.
the Plaid. The Plaid is pretty performance looking, pretty performance based. Like the Scepter Rolls Royce is pretty luxury based. This is maybe a little bit more drivable than that, but not a fan. I also did check to see if it was April 1st when the car came out, and I was very disappointed to see that it wasn't. The last controversy like this that I remember, which now literally looks like a blip compared to the memes that have come out about this car, was the last quote unquote four-door Ferrari to come out. Although I don't even know if you could waterboard Ferrari into calling it an SUV or a four-door, but the Puro Sangue came out a few years ago, and people were saying it was getting away from Ferrari's roots and not a true Ferrari, and it's too big and too tall. But that does have a front engine V12, Sean. So that to me looks more like a Ferrari than this does. And
It's
I
got
was
an engine.
wondering, it's got an engine, it's got a V12. It's another car that a lot of these guys purchase to raise their status in the tailor-made program. I'm curious. My thoughts are, why didn't we electrify the Puro Sangue and put out a Puro Sangue EV, maybe hybrid EV to compete with like the Urus SE? What do you think about that idea?
Well, I think we've got to back up a little bit before that. I mean, I actually kind of like that idea, but the real question is why did they even move forward with making an EV to begin with? All these other luxury, high-end performance car companies are scrapping their EV programs. the amount of demand is not there. And you look at Lamborghini, they're saying the demand's not there. And so that got me to digging a little bit into this. And the reason why Ferrari did not scrap their EV program is not what I think most people would realize. The reason why is because Ferrari, like you mentioned earlier, is now publicly traded. Well, they are no longer this bespoke company that's making only 5,000 cars a year. Now they are a company that has exceeded 14,000 cars shipped in a given year. Ferrari is not as rare as what they once were because they are publicly traded. They are a company that has stockholders that are wanting to get a return on their investment. How do you get a return on your investment? Is it by being a bespoke company? No, you've got to produce more cars. Well, when you produce over 10,000 cars a year, all of a sudden those regulations that you didn't have to comply with, that all the other companies have to comply with, those EV regulations, all the European regulations, you have to alter your overall stock to comply with the overall EV, saying, hey, throughout the entirety of everything that we're producing, we have a gas mileage of below this. We have these EV regulations that are on par with everything else that's being produced among major car manufacturers. And so they had to put out an EV. It's not that they wanted to put out an EV, they had to put out an EV in order to comply. But yeah, why didn't they make it an EV? It would have been a great EV or a great hybrid, in my opinion. You throw, an EV system in there, you can make the gas mileage a lot better. Maybe you don't increase the horsepower like a lot of these luxury sports cars are doing. Hey, we'll make it into an EV in order to make it, or a hybrid, in order to increase the horsepower by 25%.
Yeah, don't increase horsepower, increase gas mileage.
That would have solved their
Don't
problem.
Yeah, and then it would be way less controversial than this. I mean, this comes out and it literally looks like the new, Nissan Leaf. You could park the two next to each other, and if you didn't have the, $2,500 stainless steel prancing horse on the front, you wouldn't realize what the difference is to a normal person. And when you're thinking of the Luce, the sticker price is $650,000, something around there before options, which I'm sure there'll be quite a few of, especially since now we have seen the car in the tailor-made program. Not sure if anybody else is going to take advantage of that. But does this $40 million sale, does that mean that the Luce is worth $40 million now, Sean?
By no means. What did this individual accomplish? What did Herbie accomplish? Herbie donated $40 million to a charity organization, which, based on his charitable contributions, is pretty normal for Herbie. And is probably pretty normal for a lot of those billionaires that were bidding on the Luce. Hey, I can get my position in the tailor-made program increased. Meanwhile, I'm donating to a good cause, this Ferrari cause that it's a win-win. So what is the true value of these Luces? I don't think that we're ever really going to see it. I think Ferrari has done something to rewrite the narrative of the Luce release, just like what they did with this SUV, the Portuguesa. They did the same thing. And what they're doing is you get these individuals to buy into this tailor-made program, and they're not allowed to sell the car. Well, if you're not allowed to sell the car, you don't see a secondary market value. You don't see these massive dips on these poor performing or poor received cars. Ferrari, in their marketing and brand control, they're unparalleled as far as the way that they control the narrative. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, they're sort of taking this grouping of ultra wealthy people and saying, we don't need you to buy our cars. You need us. You want to buy our cars. We don't need you. Right? And so if you're going to not buy a Ferrari or do the horrible faux pas of buying a, Ferrari on the secondary market, not from the official channel, then, we won't even talk to you really. And
To that point, though, like I said, Ferrari is a master at crisis management because they don't let crisis occur. The crisis, everyone, like the general public, was outraged at the Luce when it was released, and we saw it. And now, like you said, what happens if they don't sell a whole lot of them? They've already sold out. They've sold out of their entire first production run. The individuals who are buying these are those billionaires that were probably bidding on it in the auction. So you have these individuals that are just wanting to increase their position in the line in the tailor-made program. They're not allowed to sell them afterwards. If they do sell it, it looks very bad on them. I don't see any other company doing nearly as much to control the secondary market as Ferrari does.
no, I totally agree. And I think that's the point that a lot of people, especially if you're not super into cars, is you could walk into your local Ferrari dealership tomorrow with the biggest check in the world, and that doesn't mean you're getting one of these special models, right? You've got a couple entry levels to choose from. I mean, you're starting out your relationship by buying one of those base models. They've determined we have the product, you have the money, you really want what we have to sell. You desperately want our cars. And Ferrari's kind of taken the traditional relationship of we want your money, please buy our cars, and flip that around to controlling the narrative, putting out limited production, one of ones, these tailor-mades, where it's not just, oh, I have a cool Ferrari now that people stare at. It's, I'm a very wealthy guy or gal who has the coolest one-of-one Ferrari that doesn't exist anywhere else. It's almost like climbing a ladder, right? It's kind of uncommon. And now some other companies do have programs like this, but I would say Ferrari is one of the most notable ones. Porsche also has this type of relationship where, you can get a Cayenne and a Macan and a 911, but something like the 911 SC, GT3, GT3 RS, all of those top end models, you can't just walk in and buy one off the showroom floor.
My question to this, why does Ferrari have this mentality? And I thought it must go back to Enzo. Enzo must be the reason why, because Enzo was eccentric, he was unique. But the mentality of we don't need you, you need us is really post Enzo. Enzo was focused on we will sell cars to be able to put together our race team. If you said, I don't like the way that the Ferrari drives, I don't like this, I don't like that, he might call you an idiot. He might say all sorts of horrible things about you, but he'll still sell you the car. Now, you have to go through a very different process, which is much more modern, the way that their marketing team is working. It's not Enzo, it's now Ferrari post Enzo.
Mhm. Right, right. And they're kind of saying, back in the day it was our cars are the best, we know that. If you don't like it, then go buy a Lamborghini. Right. And now, you said it's different. It's also pretty similar to that. They're gonna say you can buy our entry level cars. We want you to put a lot of options on it. And by the way, the entry level cars, if you want to start building a relationship with Ferrari, you're looking at like $150,000 worth of options minimum on the cars to start qualifying and start climbing up that ladder. So, I mean, these are real money, real cars that are going out. So, it's just mind-boggling the way that they've kind of turned ownership of these cars from sort of a normal consumer transaction that we have every day to membership in this elite club that everybody wants to be a part of, but a lot of people get turned away from. And with that, I think they've created something pretty extraordinary. Instead of saying, please buy our product, they're saying, prove that you're good enough and the type of person that we want buying our product. Otherwise, you're not going to.
You know what this really sounds like, though?
What?
It's a cult.
A cult.
It is 100% a cult. Are you a part of the Ferrari cult? I mean, think about it, if you will. You have devotion to a company and are willing to pour money, tens of hundreds of millions of dollars, to essentially support, worship, if you will, the products that are coming from a company. When you were saying that just now, I was like, this sounds like Scientology. Uh,
Mhm.
you put more and more money into this, and you unquestionably receive it regardless of the way that they deliver it to you. And if you don't, you are ostracized. You are kicked out.
And you could even get in, right? Like you were touching on, and be removed because you did something to the car that they didn't appreciate. Remove or change a logo or painted a color that they didn't appreciate or do something ridiculous with it.
Obviously, you enjoy Ferrari. I
Mhm.
enjoy Ferrari. Would you ever want to be in a program like this if you had the funds?
Oh, I mean, I would have to say I would definitely want to. I think it's just one of those status symbols that goes beyond owning the car, which is already a ridiculous achievement in and of itself. And it's like the step beyond having one of the coolest, most iconic cars, right? Not saying, that's attainable at this point, but, you know, if I had the opportunity, I mean, I don't think I could let it go as a fan of Ferrari in the way that I am. Are you gonna be putting $150,000 of options on your 296 to try to qualify, Sean?
I'm going to be honest. I love the classic Ferraris. I don't care nearly as much about the current ones. I feel like this tailor-made program is putting someone above you that at that point, hey, I'm a multi-billionaire. I don't need anyone to tell me what to do or what not to do. I'll buy the cars that I want to buy. I might not be able to get the most recent Ferrari with all the options that somebody else can have with a one-off. But if I want a LaFerrari, I'll be able to get a LaFerrari. I just will have to get it through a different means.
Yeah. No, I that makes total sense, and I mean, it's just a differing of opinions, and I say now that I would wanna join, and Ferrari might have a completely different opinion about my willingness. I don't know how many of the newly released Hot Wheels cars that are coming out of Ferrari help build my relationship, but I have gotten some pretty hard to get allocations of the special edition ones recently, so maybe that'll give me some points, but
Got a few of those as well. I do really enjoy those. They're beautiful cars. Don't get me wrong. I love them,
mhm.
which I'm pretty sure I just shot myself in the foot if I ever want to try to get in that program. They'll pull up this audio and be like, yeah,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
done.
You said this, you know, this is over. Sorry. Sorry, Sean. You're welcome to buy a Luce or a 296 though. Still, we'd be happy to sell that to you. Thinking about taking it back to the Luce, and I'll give my thoughts, Sean, and then you can give yours. The question that's in my head is, can an EV ever truly be a Ferrari, right? When I or you or anybody thinks of a Ferrari, we're thinking about, loud, naturally aspirated V12s, V8s, shifting gears, flying around, bright colors, everybody's looking at you. In an EV, you can get something that's extremely fast, extremely quick, right? It's not that hard to put 850 or 1,000 horsepowers on any car nowadays, right? But I mean, I just don't think Ferrari's ever really just been about, get in the car and go fast, right? It's been, you've got calfskin leather and you've got the luxury touches. You've got a cool car that is aspirational for most people. And I just don't know if the EV that they offer, the Luce, is going to, satisfy that. It's maybe like a separate kind of offshoot from the Ferrari that we think of. And I just have to wonder, is this going to be forgotten? Is it going to be looked on as this was kind of a blip in their history and a mistake, or is this kind of where they're going?
I think this is actually a very defining car for Ferrari, but in a very different way. They tested the market with this Luce that looks, like we said, like a Prius. And with a resounding laugh, the market said, we don't want this. However, if Ferrari were to make a true performance EV, I still think it would be well received. But are we going to see more like Luces? Yes, 100%. And the reason why is because they're publicly traded. They need to comply with EV regs over in Europe and the United States in order to be able to keep shipping cars out at the rate that they are. They're going to have to make some compromises. They're just going to need to be smarter in the way that they're making compromises in the future by doing things like making an EV SUV or a hybrid SUV that doesn't have the 1200 horsepower but stays at 700, but with better eco stats.
They already have this formula, right? They do it very well with the 296. Putting those hybrid EV components into a car they've done before. I think they should lean into that a little bit more. So they're not exactly the screaming Ferraris that we knew before, but I think it's a lot better to have those, maybe even a fully electric Ferrari, something that could compete with a Tesla Roadster that would keep that kind of raw driving experience rather than, the Luce EV that looks like a commuter car like a Prius does.
So here's another completely different way to look at it. They could come out with a series of cars that are more like daily drivers that appeal to these high-end clients and also satisfy the public shareholders. I think that's a real possibility that we will see in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe there is a lineup of cars that is a daily driver, or you take it to, the office, the casino, wherever there's a lot of people to look at you and wow, you spent over $500,000 on that car. You're a pretty cool guy, especially if it's tailor made and, got some crazy seats or something.
I think at the end of the day, the Luce is turning a page in the Ferrari book. What that page is, I'm not sure yet. After the IPO, after having to deal with the EV regs, the next few years is going to be really interesting to see where they go with their global brand. It is just one of the most interesting companies. I'm excited to see what they do. Even if I don't love their Luce, they might have made a crazy meme. I'm still really excited to see where they go from here.
That's it for this week's After Office Hours. We drop new episodes every Monday, so follow us on social media and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next Monday.